Hello there. Welcome to the Future Founders Fireside Chat podcast series, The Journey. This series features weekly discussions about virtual reality, emerging immersive technology, and entrepreneurship from the 2018 Future Founders VR Fellowship, sponsored by the City of Seattle's Office of Economic Development and produced by SIXR. The purpose of this podcast is to learn about the journey that it takes folks to enter the world of VR technologies and entrepreneurship. We hope to create an engaging conversation around emerging technologies in Seattle. This is episode 2, which is our opening day panel discussion held at the Collective Seattle, featuring David Harris, startup advocate for the Office of Economic Development, Ricardo Parker, founder and CEO of Chronos Global Academy, Diana Fairbank, co-founder and executive director of SIXR, Simulated Immersive Experimental Realities, and David Sauvion, founder and executive director of the Rainier Beach Action Coalition. Moderated by Budi Mulyo, co-founder and development director of SIXR. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you like the show.
My name is David, as Budi mentioned, and I work for the City of Seattle's Office of Economic Development. And my role there is startup advocate, where I work to help connect tech startup founders and investors with information and resources, and also help underserved communities get connected to the tech industry. And a really cool thing happened in my office over a year ago. We had an internal hackathon. So different folks from different teams inside of our office got together to compete for $25,000 to execute a passion project. So I've been talking with some of the other folks that work in workforce development, and we saw a lot of overlap in some of our goals. Just to kind of give you a background on some of the types of people and the types of questions that I hear frequently. I always, when I'm meeting with entrepreneurs, founders, a lot of times they're looking for technical co-founders. So they might have a great idea, they might have moved it forward, but they still hit a wall when they're looking for someone that's technical that can help them launch their business. Also, as we look to connect people with tech training opportunities, we see that there are over 20 different coding boot camps in the area, but sometimes there's opportunity cost, right? So if you're going to pay $20,000 for a training program, you probably can't work, and you might need to find daycare, transportation. So even if you got a scholarship or the opportunity for that tech training program for free, you still have to find some way to make ends meet. And as we start thinking about all these things, another kind of convergence of issues came up. And that was that Seattle is a really cool place to be right now in a very unique time. We have some of the most interesting emerging technologies coming out of Seattle that are changing the world. We think about artificial intelligence. In 2017, I believe there was over $500 million invested in the Seattle area artificial intelligence companies. Also, virtual reality. In 2012, there were 13 job postings for VR jobs, and in 2017, there were over 300. So if you're tracking, it's over a 2,000% increase, right? So as we see these kind of shifts in industry happening, we also realize that not everybody's participating, even currently in the tech sector. What does it take for someone that might live in West Seattle or that graduated from Chief Sealth or lives in Rainier Beach? When I go to South Lake Union, I haven't met many people that are from Seattle that are working in those companies. So if you're keeping track of what these issues, we have tech training opportunities that are somewhat hard to get to because of opportunity cost. We have these emerging technologies that everyone isn't able to participate in. And we also want to make sure that we have the right technical talent that's available for founders that are here in Seattle. So as we thought about all these things, we came up with an idea for our hackathon proposal to create a fellowship program where we could invest in young people from specific neighborhoods that we can help them get to the next level in their career. And that's kind of the genesis of the Future Founders program. And the name of our first pilot fellowship is called the VR Fellowship. And we really wanted to blend all of these different issues. But one thing that we try to be grounded in at the city is community. And I mentioned some of the emerging technology that's coming out of Seattle's tech industry, but there's also some emerging innovations that happen right here in our neighborhoods. So one very interesting and promising and exciting initiative that's coming out of Rainier Beach is the Food Innovation District. I think that's probably a good segue to David Sauvion to talk about types of innovation that's happening that might not necessarily be in the tech industry, but is very novel and creative and powerful, none the least.
Well, thank you, David and Budi. Do I need the microphone? Can you hear me without it?
Can you?
Okay, it doesn't matter. Just let me know if you can't hear or if the level goes down. So my name is David Sauvion. I'm a French immigrant. I moved to Seattle about 12 years ago. And I'm the co-founder of the Rainier Beach Action Coalition. So Rainier Beach Action Coalition, also known as our back, so we've got each other's back, is an organization that came straight out of a city process for the neighborhood plan update. So Light Rail has changed a lot of things in South Seattle, and that's part of the reason why this effort took place. We looked at urban issues kind of in a holistic fashion. We look at housing and transportation and education and crime and job opportunities and health and access to fresh food and so on. So we're really kind of more of a place where we bring resources to people rather than directly provide services. Although we've found instances where we had to jump in and create service where it was needed. The thing about Fairbank is that, I'm representing it today. I'm not representative of the neighborhood. I'm one of two people out of 99% people of color organization. I like to make that point very clear. The reason why I'm here is because I've had that luxury of volunteering to get this organization started and write grants and little by little, get to a place where I've been able to create a full-time position for the organization. I'm not looking to be doing this forever. I want people that I represent to actually be doing this work, but to this point, this is how it's happened. The key for us around creating opportunities in Rainier Beach has really been to think about the diversity. So 98118, the most diverse zip code in the country. We have to build on those assets. We're in a place where ethnic and cultural richness and traditions and cultural heritage are key and are amazing. We are also in a city that is thriving but leaving a lot of people behind. So how do we reconcile those two things, and how do we make sure that we create opportunities for people that are still left behind this? So as Budi said, my background's in architecture, so I worked in a number of different firms in Seattle. I was working at Weber Thompson just around the corner for about 5 years, so I saw South Lake Union come together since 2008. I had to pull myself out and extract myself from this. I was feeling that I was being more part of the problem than I was part of the solution. So all of the boxes that we see everywhere, I've worked on a lot of those, and I just couldn't be part of this anymore. When I come back to this neighborhood, I just can't help but think about all the investment and all of the resources that are being poured into one area, and then I go back to Rainier Beach and I look at the potential and yet none of this is happening. So the Food Innovation District is really this idea that we can build on cultural and historical know-how and find ways for people in the community to build businesses and to be entrepreneurs and thrive through this economy. But instead of thinking, well, we're going to bring capital, so we'll have another Tom Douglas restaurant. Well, no, let's not let Tom Douglas have another restaurant. He's got money enough as it is. Let's make sure that we can really build this from the ground up and think about the hurdles and the barriers that are in the way of these people, getting their feet on the ground and getting going. So food is really for us this way of bringing people together as a community, and then it's the pathway to those career jobs. The idea started with, what will it take for people to get into this industry? And we're not looking at fast food. A lot of people, and even in our neighborhood, a lot of criticism comes from people thinking, well, all you're doing is training people to go in the fast food industry. That can be far further from the truth. What we're looking for is some living wage job, qualified, skilled kind of position. And there's a number of gaps in Seattle, and particularly in South Seattle, because what we're seeing is as the city grows and as the tech industry is taken over, they're also highly demanding of the best service in all kind of areas, including food. They want it all organic, they want it all fresh, they want it all local. Well, that's not going to happen unless we give opportunities to people that provide those services. And we're going to run out very, very quickly because right now, things are not being grown locally to supply that many people. The people are being left out are farmers of color, people that come out of high school without qualification. There's a lot of ways where food might be an easier career path, where the training doesn't require 3-5 year course where you'd have to go into university and spend $30,000 a year. They really fast forward some of the training. With that said, what we realize is that the plan, which might be a 20-year plan to get the facilities and the location and infrastructure needed to get to that, this isn't the kind of timeline we have. And there are also other issues that we're dealing with right now, which is food justice, food security, and health. So we've had to revisit this idea of the district. So the district is still this overarching umbrella, for the neighborhood, where a number of components can come together. But we've had to start on the ground. So we started this year a farm stand, which is very different from the typical farmers market for a number of reasons. Well, one, the farmers market typically cater to white folks. It's white folks' products. You go out there, you know what you're going to find. That's not representative of what people of color are looking for in terms of produce and in the kind of thing that they used to cook. The second thing is the barrier to get to put your produce at a farm stand very high. It's very expensive to actually get there, and also you need to produce sufficient amount of produce to be allowed to be part of the farmers market. So what we've set up is our own model where we buy directly wholesale from farmers, all farmers of color. So we've got people in Beacon Hill. There's another farmer in Yasler Terrace, and then some further down in the Rainier Valley beyond Seattle. So we pay up front. There's no risk losing any money for them. And then we have people from high school actually staffing the booth on Saturdays. So they're paid by our bag, and they're there 6 hours on Saturdays to promote the farms and sell the produce. So, it's a pilot. We're hoping that, we'll get more momentum out of it, but already, people have been amazed. The quality of the produce has been fascinating. It's just been the most gorgeous produce you can think of. And people walk away with a bag full of fresh food for $20. And they're just like, wow, how do we do this? So, those are first steps. One of the important things I think for us to get to the point more of what we're here today and how technology can help with this is that we're really trying to do some creative placemaking. We're trying to get where people are at and meet people where they're at and really kind of create, community around that. And I think part of our project and why it's been so difficult, we've been at it for 6 years, and given, we've made great headways, but it takes time, is because our communities just don't have the time. They're not available. They can't volunteer. One thing we've realized is you have to pay people. You can't expect people, low-income communities, to come at a work party. Well, they don't have time for this, and then, they could be doing something else. Or if they have the time, I'm sure they've got someone to take care of, someone's got health issues, and so on. So we've got to forget about this and restart where it needs to be. So the farm stand is just like, historically a place of gathering in many, many culture and communities. So this idea that we can be available and engage people at the farm stand is really something that matters to us. I think we've been trying through a number of different ways, social media and regular town halls, and to reach out to this community. But when you have 60 languages out there and different cultures, it's a very, very tricky thing to achieve. So, we always get very excited. We're like, we're going to have 100 people coming. But, there's 5, maybe 10,000 people that we really need to reach out to. And those people are typically not the one we get to. So we'll see how this develops. But one thing that we see in potential virtual reality is we've had this idea of creating an exhibit for a number of different cultural groups in the neighborhood, and really promoting and featuring either a celebration or a tradition or something that was meaningful to them. So that was great, but with the material or the capacity that we had available, we think, we'll do posters, or we'll put something on the wall and we can take it to the different community centers and we can show people. And that was great, but we'd have it maybe in the original language, translated in English. That's still only 2 languages, right? So how do we do that? And then, it's great to look at a picture of someone cooking something, but it's still not quite getting all the intent. So one of the things that I got really excited about, and it's very kind of you to say that I'm so friendly, because I've been pushing back on the way we actually develop this program, and David can talk to this. Like I said, we've got to pay folks, we've got to pay into it, and so on. So we're still working through this process. But I was getting excited about the idea that we could actually have things being interactive. We could have all these languages translated and being spoken as we develop the product. I think the only thing we couldn't have, and although I want you to work on it, is the smell, right? But that'll get there.
What was it?
The smell.
The smell. Oh, yes. The smell
You're
of
going to
vision.
work on that.
Right? Smell of vision.
Smell-o-vision, yeah. That's the next step in VR.
So you can smell it while you're in the headset?
Hey, anything's possible. Regardless, I think the setting VR in different locations is also an opportunity for us to welcome people, to have food available for them, so that it's not just all virtual, but really just to engage folks on a different level. There's a lot of barrier, I think, that having a headset on and being in the space can take away. We've seen it even from the city's work on some of the rezone aspect, where they bring the headsets and have people kind of walk around town and see the different buildings and everything, and everybody, every age, is really kind of taken by that. So that's probably enough for me at this point. The only thing I'd say is, we're obviously welcoming any way to get the word out there and promote this work. We do a lot of advocacy. We work closely with the city on a number of different projects and initiatives. There is no reason why all of this cannot come together. When we think about the innovation in the food innovation district, it really goes the whole way. There's the food part, the aggregation, and then the assembly and the sale, but there's all the logistics, the marketing, the branding, the distribution. There's a lot of creativity that's involved in all of this, and we want to see our community be able to benefit from it.
So thank you so much. Appreciate it. I think before we move on to the next one, I would like to welcome Deborah from the Human Service Department, and then Nancy there from the Real Girls. So what's cool about them being here is because I would like to highlight what we've been doing in the summer with the help with EduCurious as well. So it's kind of interesting, what you're saying about food bring people together as well. That is what about. when you eat together, you kind of like talk about different things, and then you kind of like just building relationship. And that's what I see in the summer as well when we actually be part of this Sizzle and Crunch project, we call it, where we actually got the funding for being able to interact with the community and then document their that how they actually have their food. We actually went to the urban farm at the Rainier Beach, and we actually have the drone footage of the farm, and actually being able to use that footage and convert it into a 3D model, and then we'll be able to putting it in the urban, the urban planning tool that we're going to build. So I'm just thank you so much for the help that you provided with that kind of incentive that for the youth being able to learn video production, and then for them to get paid as well to learn that way. And I know there's a lot of times it's like about exposure, and then we'll be putting more and more of that in the future as well, because that is what it is. Okay, so I also want to showcase the Food Innovation Project video that has been put together by RBEC.
And just so you know, the video you're going to see is part of a reporting to the Kresge Foundation. So we've had a partnership with the Kresge Foundation for the last 3 years. It's a part of an initiative called the Fresh Local, Equitable Initiative. And so all the footage has been filmed by local youth that work for RBEC, so we pay them. And then we have a production, or we've got a couple of stations at the office that they can work on and come and work, and they've been doing all of our videos for quite a number of years now.
What music is in the background?
This is Ben Hunter.
Ben Hunter.
Yeah. Hillman City collaborative musician. He's also behind the Black and Tan Hall.
Oh, the location in Columbia City?
Hillman City.
Hillman City, okay. Gotcha.
There's a difference. Sorry. We're going to be picky.
Oh, so that's your daughter? That's him?
So the logo for the farm stand was also done by a young lady that works at the Ethiopian community in Seattle. The farm stand is a partnership between ECS and RBEC. So Leah was part of another program in the valley called Rainier Valley Corps. So it's another non-profit organization that focuses on organization led by people of color, and they provide resources or capacity by paying fellows placed in those organizations. So Leah was one of those working at the Ethiopian community in Seattle, and we then hired her as a full-time manager. And all the youth wearing the blue shirts are the youth we hired for the farm stand. The trailer at the back is also a device we worked on. We have another program called Corner Grader, which is a youth crime prevention initiative. And before we had offices, it was a matter of being visible on the street. So we have this little trailer that we deployed around the neighborhood every time we have an event, just to anchor them and give them, something to. But the weather's not always good either, so they can get. The idea is also to give out flyers and resources from other organizations. He's my partner in crime, Gregory Davis, but this would be a typical corner grader setup. Every week there will be in different location, just engaging community where things used to happen.
So I would like to continue with Ricardo. Maybe be best if you introduce why we are like this different circle kind of connect together. That might be a good way for us to introduce Ricardo and Diana as well, and Floodgate Academy. Maybe David can.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we had this idea for this fellowship and went forward with trying to put it together. But it wasn't the first time that we had tried to connect this emerging technology and community. We actually worked with UW, CoMotion, and the Washington Technology Industry Association in May of 2017 to hold a pop-up VR event in South Seattle at New Holly Gathering Hall. And we had, different booth setups and demos. And one really great participant that we had there was Chronos Global Academy. And they came and brought their equipment. And the event, by some measures, you would say it was a success. We had over 100 people there. But when we looked at the zip codes that people came from, it wasn't Rainier Beach area. It wasn't the community that we were in. So we did some more work and tried to think about what can we really do to connect and make this relevant. And the number one thing is jobs, right? So instead of somebody just being able to consume content on virtual reality, we want to think about how do you create that content, create those apps that you'd be using. So Ricardo, who runs and founded Chronos Global Academy, and I had these discussions way back then, and thought about maybe we could do a hackathon. And my experience with hackathons is that they're great exposure, and you get a taste of what you could do. You could theoretically go on after that. So great events, but we wanted to go even further. We wanted to really, really make this relevant and worth people's time. So we set out on figuring out how we could actually create an experience for people to come in with maybe no background in technology or virtual reality, and at the end of their experience, they gain some marketable skills that they could actually get a job or continue training and add on top of what they've already learned, and actually produce something that's relevant. So that is where the different partners that we brought together for this VR fellowship came in. And another one I'll mention is Floodgate Academy, which is headquartered in Oakland, California. It's led by people of color and works with people of color and giving them technology training, and not just the training, but also the support around that they need that's relevant. So in addition to SIXR, Floodgate Academy, we have Chronos Global Academy that will also be providing training for our fellows. And actually, before I go any further, I'd like for our fellows to raise their hands. We caught them out. Big round of applause. They were selected because they showed that they have a real interest in technology, and also, most importantly, an interest in helping their community. So they come from mostly Rainier Beach area, but from all different backgrounds and experiences. And we're excited about just really helping propel whatever they want to do with this experience. But with that, again, a core piece of that is the training that they'll get from Chronos Global Academy. And I would love for Ricardo to tell you more about the awesome company that he's founded that is really unique, not just in Seattle, but across the world.
Thank you, David. I remember that event very well. Yeah, it was a while back. So, Budi, how much time do I have?
So we have maybe 15 minutes.
Okay. So I wanted to tell you guys a little bit of a story, just so you guys understand where I'm coming from, how Chronos was conceived, and what we're about, and how we are really a part of this vision together. So I was about 9 years old when my dad showed me a computer for the first time. He took me to this place where I believe it was a school, and they were teaching people how to program on this monochrome monitor. I think it was an Apple computer, and I just knew that was going to change the world. But computers were very rare at the time, and keep in mind I was born in Brazil, so I was in a large city in South America, but technology was very behind. It took years for something that existed in a country like the United States to get to Brazil, and it got there at a very high price. So when I was 14 years old, my dad sold a car, which was very expensive, to buy a computer because he thought I was playing too many video games. And then I got into computers, and I got into building computers because there was a friend of mine that actually had a company that was building computers, which is very entrepreneurial. So I learned a lot from that experience. And I've been building my own computers since. And then I was doing computers as a hobby. And I was doing other things in Brazil. I actually was a machinist, and I was going to school and things. So I was just, I wanted to get into high tech, at whatever it took. So long story short, I moved to the United States and I moved to Seattle with the intention of working for Microsoft. And then 2 years later, I had the opportunity to work for Microsoft. And how that happened was that I had done so much work with computers. My passion for computers and being in the industry was so great that I had accumulated enough experience that they hired me in the spot. And so I got to go through on this incredible journey where I got to see how literally one of the things that was so great about Microsoft is that they were part of the building of an industry that didn't exist. So all along, most people around me would say things like, oh, this software thing isn't really going to be very big. And, I don't know why people would be working with computers so much. Kind of a nice tool, but you got to really do something important like, mechanical engineering or architecture or whatever, right? But people didn't have their mind to understand how powerful software was going to be that was going to change the world. And even when I joined Microsoft, we had just about 30,000 employees, and people would say, oh, that's already a bubble. That's already so big. It's like, you don't need that many people in that industry. And then Microsoft just kept growing, right? Now, I just came back from the Bay Area, where it's another place where they're heavily invested in high tech. And I talked a little bit about Microsoft, and they didn't like that at all. They thought because they like hearing about the companies that are down there that have had success. But Microsoft, I had an incredible experience that I believe, first of all, I'm trying to replicate some of the things that I was a part of. And also, I believe that VR is going to be as big or bigger than the revolution that we had with personal computers, right? Which I was a part of. And then we had the mobile revolution, and now I believe that we are part of the XR revolution. But it's not just witnessing for me now or being a part of it. We're literally driving it. We are the ones that are creating it. One of the things that I got really inspired by from this trip that I did to the Bay Area was that we are so amazing here. We have just so much right now in Seattle that I believe that Seattle can really be the number one, basically the strongest place that's driving this technology, because this medium has applications for everything, including cooking, by the way. I mean, you can make an application that teaches people how to cook a recipe that isn't like anything that has been done before. So in 2015, I started the academy, and we're really in the business of building people, because this is a new paradigm that I see. And as a new paradigm, there are a few things that can be said, but one of them is that, first of all, we're in the very beginning still, right? And also, everything that we've done before doesn't really apply. And a lot of people don't understand that. So some people will think, okay, a lot of this technology that we're using comes from the game development industry, so you must have an extensive game development background before you can do VR development, which is not true at all, by the way. In fact, this is really surprising, even to me, but probably less than half of gamers even care about going into VR, right? Gaming industry, it's its own industry. The VR industry is a different industry. And so we started working on the premise that anybody can do this, and this is a way that we're going, because this is a new opportunity and literally a new industry, which doesn't happen all the time, by the way. We can actually bring people that don't have a background in whatever development of software, and we can train them into a new way of thinking, literally. And so we started with that premise that anybody can do it. And then we worked with a number of people. We've had hundreds of students. We've had a lot of people that come from the industry here, that are developers, software developers, technical people. But then we've worked with people that actually don't have a background. We've worked with musicians. We've worked with people that, they use software, but they they have not been in the industry. And we have had quite a few very successful stories. So we know that we can do this. If we have the right people with the drive, with the desire to succeed, with the time, and they will apply themselves, then we know that a beautiful story can be told, and that these people are going to be very successful because they're going to be on the cutting edge and they're going to have the skills necessary to create content, right? And this is how we're very aligned with David here, because it's my passion to democratize high tech, to make it as inexpensive as possible, and to make it as accessible as possible so that anybody can do it. And by the way, I've been talking about myself a little bit in my history and my journey, but along my journey, I've met a lot of people that think or believe that they can't do it, because this industry is heavily dominated by a type of people, right? Typically, privileged people, right? And I had the privilege of having good parents that actually had the resources to buy me an expensive computer that I could play with, but a lot of people didn't. A lot of my friends didn't, a lot of people don't. And so that is something that I don't want it to exist going forward. As a result of creating the Academy and this mission that we have, we created a lab that I call the Holo Lab. It's an XR lab that has a variety of high-end computer and VR stations for development. And that is something that we make it very accessible to people. And that's what the students can take advantage of. One of the things that we have prepared with in coordination with Budi and the city of Seattle is an extended course for VR development. So we have already had success with our standard course, which is about 40 hours. But now we have an extended course that is going to be close to 100 hours. And that is, I don't know yet what's going to come out of that, but I'm pretty excited to.
I do want to ask you one more thing. I mean, like if you, so there is an event coming up. It's like in November.
Yes.
What is it called?
Yeah, I'd like to mention that. So thanks for reminding me of that. So our marketing director, Erica Herrera, was going to be here, but she couldn't make it. But she's organizing an event that is the first of its kind. And in fact, we've done many things for the first time here in Seattle. That's why I think Seattle is so incredible of a place. And this event is the first that we know where we're actually combining jobs with candidates. And so it's a type of a job fair, but we're calling it Washington State Immersive Fair. But one of our goals is actually to connect students and candidates with jobs. And we are going to be showcasing the work of the students that are going through the Future Founders Program at this event.
Yeah.
And that's saying a little bit about that, right?
Yeah.
But we're also we're not just focused on the doing business as usual, like the way that it's been, and getting people into jobs to go work for large companies. That's one piece of it. We definitely need to connect people with jobs. But we're really about enabling people to be creative and to create because they have the skills and they have everything necessary, including the hardware, which is not cheap and is also evolving. So everything that comes out that's new, we bring it into the lab and make it available for people, right? In being able to create, now they're working to express their own ideas, and they can find revenue streams for themselves. So it's really about being independent. And there are ways to do that people can actually discover. And we can't give it all at once. Definitely we can show people different options. So for example, when I started with personal computers, mostly it was large companies that were in the space, right? With a lot of money behind it. And then you'd get a job and then you'd go work on a large application like, let's just say, Microsoft Word, which I was a part of, right? But then you had the mobile revolution and Apple came up with a new model and they came, they wanted to fill this space very quickly, which is what we're doing. And they thought, well, we're not going to be able to hire developers to build apps for mobile platforms because it's just not going to work. So they focused on the App Store, and then they created a model where developers can publish their app at the App Store, and Apple will collect 30%, and they will build the entire infrastructure for development and provide it for you, right? So that model proved very successful because then you found a lot of independent developers. And I have many friends that actually became very rich as a part of this process because they started early. And they quit their jobs and they went into app development for the iPhone. And, it's whatever idea that they have. They're not working for somebody that's telling them what to do. They're taking the risk. And if they're successful, they can actually make a lot of money. I mean, a lot more money than actually working at a job. So those are opportunities that people have now. Because even in VR, it's a very similar model, right? You can publish your app at Oculus Store or Steam, and they will collect 30%, which is what it is, right? But you get the rest, and if your app is successful, because it's a wide open space, most of what we want hasn't been created. In fact, the biggest weakness of the industry right now is lack of content. We're in this catch-22 where people complain we don't have enough content, so I don't want to buy the hardware. The hardware is pretty great. It's not like a pair of sunglasses that is, the best, but it's great. But there's not enough content for me to justify that kind of expense. That's where people are. So we are just focused on enabling people to create content, and then they create what they want to create that is their idea, and they can monetize. We'll show them ways to monetize. One of them is to get a job, another way is to publish their app, and people, one of the things that you were mentioning is our people connecting with co-founders so they can actually create companies that create jobs. That's another entrepreneurial path. It's also
so
an option.
I want to have a question like, what do you what would the intern, we call it fellows, that is because intentionally we want to make sure that the thinking around it, like they're not working, they're working for themselves in a way to improve. Am I correct? So you guys are collaborating with us as you develop your own skill, your own network of people, and that's basically for your own benefit and for us to be able to actually showcase that. Does that sounds right? Okay. So just to connect with what SIXR is have accomplished in the summer as well. Maybe Diana can tell us more about like that kind of activity, and then like tell how that is related to what we are doing.
Hi. So just to tie in with what we were just talking about with this whole concept of future founders, there's so much natural symbiosis, and again, that's the subject of this, building trust, symbiotic trust. And there is such a natural, that's happening among what all four of us are doing very different things, but they've coalesced in this time and space in a way that is, of course, way greater than the sum of the parts. So toward this end of making, empowering our fellows to be able to not only come out with marketable skills, but also Takara, you made me so happy the other day because like when we were first doing orientation, we were just starting to explain what we're making available as far as teaching, and he was just getting so excited to share it with as soon as possible with the people around him. And I was so ecstatic because that is exactly what SIXR does. That's exactly how we function. That's exactly how we have built an amazing extended family of creatives over the 6 cinematic VR challenges that we've done. And the way that our philosophy of the way that we like to teach is absolutely about skill sharing and helping the person behind you, giving them a hand up, and being just very open to making introductions and all these kinds of things, and just instilling the responsibility of like, wow, we are at the dawn of this amazing thing, so let's bring as many other amazing people in as we can. And so I just love that was your instant instinct, Jakari, and we just when we meet people who are as excited about VR as we are, it's just like, oh my gosh, you're just already part of the vibrational family. So the potential is so exciting. And then also the concept besides that of the instilling a kind of responsibility to share what your knowledge is with those close around you and help that ripple extend. But also the concept of, as a future founder, I mean, Budi and I founded SIXR, David founded RBAC, and Ricardo's founded Chronos, and David is the one tying all of that together and this whole concept, so that we want to instill this from the very beginning, the idea that you too can be a founder of a company, you can be a job creator, and you do not have to dig someone else's gold mine. We encourage you to please dig your own. So part of what we were doing this summer with the project of Sizzle and Crunch, which Budi definitely deserves the credit for coming up with that amazing title. But we were lucky enough to connect with RBAC and came up with the idea of that. What we would be able to have our interns doing would be creating marketing collateral for the Food Innovation District, for RBAC, for the Rainier Beach Urban Farm. And if any of you don't know about the Rainier Beach Urban Farm and RBAC, you really need to look at what they're doing. It's incredibly inspiring and impressive. So I mean, you just would not even believe that when you're at the urban farm, you cannot believe that you're in the middle of Seattle. It's just this little oasis of food innovation. So it was a really great way to get to spend the summer with these interns, getting to learn regular, what we call flatty film, audio visual, because that's where you need to start before you want to go into even 360 filmmaking. There's a lot of differences, but you need to start with those basics. And we just had I think it was very successful. The people that we were interacting with were all very enthusiastic about what we were doing, and I felt like we really did help make a difference and help also form further connections, more of this building symbiotic trust and around what the ultimate goal of this project of coming up with the what is it called? The drone.
Oh yeah,
urban planning tool.
Aerial,
excuse me.
So we do have that aerial footage, and we photogrammetrize it and make it 3D model, like I mentioned. And I was gonna show you a little bit of what we have done so far. And then this is pretty much the reasons I'm here is because I want to show there is this connection between food and the people and the location and everything, right? So there's some sort of a power dynamic that we're trying to hack, if you can call it that, right? So there is a statistic somewhere that I think I just come across and might be. Let me just a second. Let me just. Right. So I have privileged to be at this farm fest, for example. What they're trying to accomplish is something that is that what David told us about, the food justice system is something that we can start with when we're trying to change this systemic power dynamic that is not working for all of us. For example, one thing that I want to tell you is there's a 10%, 10 times more likely for the black to get drowning in the pool. Why is that? Because there's a discrimination against the black being in the same pool, and they're not learning how to swim, and that's way that they don't know how to swim and they get drowned. And that is the same thing with the technology. If we don't start now, then later on they'll be just drowning with all this technology that is not being shaped by them, that they are actually being bombarded by, right? That's just the thing that we are trying to accomplish here. In the bigger scheme of things, we're just trying to challenge what established so far, and then that's not working. And I'm pretty sure that is a little bit more of my passionate field that I have. But the reason I'm telling you this because the background, a little bit of that is that I told my dad when I was a kid that, hey, I want to be an actor. And then like the reality hit when I got older is like, hey, there's not many Asian actor that got hired. So what I did was like instead of like waiting to get invited to the party, so instead of me getting invited to the party, I create my own party and invite everybody else in. So I become a producer instead. So that's how I got started with the whole thing. It's like I created SIXR as a place where I can store the momentum going forward, and then actually everybody else jump into the same train, and then like they include like diversity and inclusion in the DNA, and then like yes, sure, why not? And then this become like that. So that's how it got started. But like I'm glad that we all here together and basically moving forward with the Future Founder VR Fellowship that is just a pilot, that's a start for the Future Founders program that is going to be something that we are going to continue working on. And I want to also include something else that is like profound, is like having working with different offices in the city of Seattle, like how I get to see like how much passion they put into this sort of like empowerment enrichment program. And I think there's like not enough appreciation given to them basically for being able to figure out and then put a lot of time and money into it, you know. So thank you for that. YFE program too, so appreciate that. So Office of Economic Development, YFE program, and there's also neighborhood matching program out there. So there's a lot of opportunity if you want to be like concerned and really want to support the community. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations as well as like corporations who are really want to help out basically. And then and I just want to also start with Ricardo again. Like, how is the format and what do they expect to see in the coming week as well? So maybe a little bit of that.
Sure.
So we are offering a Unity course, which is working with a game engine to create an interactive 3 VR experience. And this is a course that is an extended course with focus on urban planning. And there were specifications provided by the city of Seattle that we have been working on, that we're going to be providing. And I don't have the specifics of that. Peter Mosher, instructor that was at the event on Saturday, has that, Budi. But basically, it's the Unity course that we have, in which you get the foundation for creating, just learning the basics of the engine, right? But it's an extended version with a focus on urban planning. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I wanted to make just one more comment. I see this as the start of something really big, where we can replicate this model in terms of creating opportunities for others that are at a disadvantage, and bringing, promoting diversity. And I am very grateful to the city of Seattle and David Harris for really putting this together and making it possible. Because as David was saying, it is not just putting people through a program, it's putting them in a position where they are set up to succeed, right? Like they can really take the time to think about nothing but what they're learning and what they are creating.
Well, I think it's time for the Q&A. So if you guys want to start with some questions.
Thank you guys all for your presentation and stuff like that. Appreciate it.
But yeah, like I said, I'm super ready to just get rolling. And I was, I forgot my man who's your sales representative. He's not here though. But yeah, I got like 1,000 ideas of just, and so figuring out like this is the forefront of like you were just bringing up like more mobile development and stuff like that. So like that was like a general, or I forgot what you called it, but like that was like a revolution or whatever, right? And so like all this VR stuff, you were saying that there's too less of the content. So I'm like, there's a need. So every idea that we're coming up with, things like that, might be something like, you know how you be like, oh, there's this app. Somebody already made that. Or like 5 people already made that. So with VR, hopefully there's a way like somebody may have not created that, or most likely hasn't created that. Like, right? Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Like I'm trying to say that there's like a huge market out there to make apps, right?
Yes.
Is that so? Yes, there is. Okay, so that's why I'm just super excited because I got a million ideas. I love entrepreneurship, but I do want to like hopefully segue into a job where I can have some stability to where I can like increase, you know what I'm saying, like my entrepreneurship on, really have a place to really grow my thoughts and stuff like that. So I'm just excited about it.
Awesome. It's great to see your passion. Really, really great. I wanted to offer you something for you to succeed. Okay. It's great that you have all these ideas. I encourage you to focus on a few of them, and then start off with one of them, and really take that on and go all the way to the end, especially during the course. And what I'm sharing with you all is my vision, right? I believe that virtual reality, XR, is going to be bigger than anything we've had before. It absolutely has the potential. Is it going to happen? I don't know. This is my belief, right? In fact, a lot of that is up to us. It's up to people like us driving this industry and bringing people into it. Chronos is all about, in the beginning we did hundreds of demos to bring people into the space. So there will be another revolution, and I'd say we're in the very beginning of that. So the apps that people are going to want haven't even been created yet. You have actually the opportunity of time. And when you complete this program, you'll be able to work on your other ideas because you will have the foundation for that. And then you might even start looking at other people that can have the same skills that you have, or similar skills, or skills that combine. So then you have a bigger team to take on another idea that's going to be very good for people. I hope that helps.
Do you have anything to add, Diana?
No, I said David.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, I had a question. So I'm still getting a little familiar with VR, right? But I've also heard big mention of XR. Can you explain like the difference with the XR, VR? What are the two things?
Are you sure you're asking the difference between VR and XR?
Yeah.
Okay, so AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality, and then there was MR, mixed reality, and now XR has just become the new umbrella term to encompass any kind of immersive media, and even including 360 video.
Yeah, I'll make a comment about that. So when people come our way, because we have dealt with the public a lot, we're one of the original companies, especially here in Seattle, right? A lot of times people are driven towards a particular area, let's just say. For example, HoloLens, we've been working with HoloLens since 2016, and that's augmented reality. It is different from virtual reality because it's not immersive. And when people come to our lab, they discover those things. So they will say, I want to work with HoloLens, or I want to work with augmented reality. I don't want to do virtual reality. And sometimes people even put that into a category. They will say, oh, virtual reality is more entertainment. Augmented reality is more enterprise. But ultimately, I see this as just one big industry, which is immersive. And we call it XR, that just encompassing all of it. There's mixed reality. There's a lot of different things that you can do. The thing is, when we teach you on Unity, you can then move on to do development for HoloLens, which is augmented reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So basically, you're learning skills that applies to all of it. You can go work with, SIXR on, storytelling, using what we are teaching you, because we're teaching you the foundation. So.
Well, and can I also say another part of when we do our VR challenges and stuff is that there's this wonderful thing of when you're elbows deep in a project, that's when you can see where is your sweet spot. And sometimes you can't know that without being that far into it. But then that once you are in the middle, that will spark all kinds of new ideas and also can lead you what area you want to specialize in, because this is rapidly becoming very many specialties within the XR space, like such as 360 audio. That's going to be a completely separate specialty all its own. I mean, it already is.
Oh, maybe the other intern.
You can go ahead.
No. Fellow, sorry.
I don't really have a question, but it's an open question. So the VR fellowship that we're running, like, what can we have, like, how can we be of help to society for Rainier? Like, how do we help it? Because, like, the 4 months that we're running the fellowship, can we also be of help to the society, like the foundation and like that? Or we're just going to learn the technology? Like, how can we use it to help our society?
Maybe for both of David's probably that's a good
Actually, David,
good way of that. Maybe
because the flow.
Oh, there's another one.
The workflow.
Yeah, I think like
I'll start and somebody else can pick up. But definitely one of the reasons your orientation started at a farm stand, even though it's a VR fellowship, was because we have to be grounded in reality. Too many times there are applications of software technology that's created in the absence of any kind of reality that includes humans. People have ideas and it's great that they get them out, but we don't have time or room enough in our world for things that aren't grounded in real experiences. So during your time, the project that you'll be working on with SIXR is something that will help the Rainier Beach community, hopefully. And you kind of heard from David around some of the issues they're addressing, and that application that you all will be creating will help move that forward, hopefully. But as you're going through that, you're learning the skills to think of issues in your own community, issues that you're passionate about, then now you have the skills and also the training and experience to do that yourselves, and also the network to empower and collaborate with other people to move some of those things forward.
Yeah, you want to add to that?
Sure. And I'll come from my perspective as a non-tech person whatsoever, probably the only one in the room. But I think, well, first and foremost, I don't think we would have gone into this partnership and into this initiative if we hadn't seen the benefit to our community. That's the starting point. I mean, our back just doesn't go. We get solicited on a daily basis by city department, by other organizations, and it's like, well, okay, what's in it for us? I mean, we don't have the kind of capacity and resources to be able to do anything beyond that, and that's our commitment. We have to stick to that hard line. So on so many levels, I think, to answer your question, well, the fact that you get that opportunity is valuable to us, and it's valuable to our community because you are part of that community, right? So that's the number one criteria. Then everything we work towards and we believe in is really about empowerment, and we want to build skills. Well, build skills. We want students and youth that we work with to acquire skills through any kind of experience or program that we develop, or in partnership for that matter. So there's one thing we really value is mentorship. So you're going to be mentored, and at the same time, you're going to be interacting with people in your community, and you're going to become a mentor. You know, it's kind of a leadership path where you have that experience that you can then share on, and you will get inspired to, maybe in a few years down the road, to think about what you can do on a more substantial level, to help others just that same way. So there's no small investment. I mean, you won't see it right away, but I think that the storytelling, the skills that you're acquiring, and just the way we can continue to share that narrative about our community and what's cool about it and what's good about it, and and what's valuable, and how we come up with creative ideas to switch the focus a little bit, because we hear a lot about Rainier Beach and the gun violence and all of this stuff, and we're going to get away from this. I mean, this is no longer acceptable. So yeah, we don't have to worry about immediate return. We're just building this from the ground up. That's what matters, to make sure that people that are in the community are doing this, not people coming, no offense, David, right? People coming and doing this to us, right?
And you have a question?
Yeah, so when I think about XR, I think about all the different ways of different types, different versions of this new technology. And I've been looking at this for the past few years, come to the past 3 years, and I found it inaccessible to myself because of the money aspect. So my question is, because I know things are changing very quickly, they're evolving very quickly, and there may be angles that I didn't notice because, like you said, those boxes of categories. What technology, what version of this technology is most accessible for the average person? Where can people get started?
Oh,
They just
so yeah, go ahead.
And then I'll be right back. I forgot to mention that I have 3 VR headsets. So hopefully that helps.
Well, so my answer to that, and this is also how Budi and I started with our first VR challenge, is just 360 video. This is the simplest, most inexpensive entree to VR available. And actually, this is the 2016 model. I bet you could find this on Craigslist for $25 at this point. That's that old. I mean, because now that's the 2017 version. I'm sure there's some other version that's about to come out that's about to make that one, look old. So that one has live streaming. So each time they add new bells and whistles, then the earlier model goes, everybody wants to get rid of theirs. So it's pretty easy to find a used one. I just say, get your hands on it. It works with, any smartphone. And, I guess I can't guarantee any smartphone. It's later versions of smartphones. I do a little research first. But this is by far the easiest way to just jump in. You get one of these, you can take a video and then see it on your phone, but then immediately put your phone into that cardboard they gave you and then see it. So, I mean, you can within 5 minutes, you can make your first VR, cinematic VR.
What's that called?
This is the Gear 360 made by Samsung, and so for those who aren't familiar, this is a 360 camera. Each lens has a 180, and so when they're each recording, they're separate half of a sphere, and then the software stitches it together, and then that allows you to see it in the headset or the cardboards. And there's tons of free 360 stuff online. I think they put a link on or some info on there, but the best app I know, everybody please download an app called Within. That has the best free content. And actually, a good friend of ours from our extended SIXR family, Nemo, is down there now working for them. And also, SIXR, we have a YouTube channel with all of the many of the projects that have been made by us at the VR challenges past, and then I have my own channel, and so there's lots of places to find 360. But the thing I wanted to tell you is how you can tell something is a 360 video. You'll see a little tiny on the right hand bottom side. You'll see a little goggle symbol, and that you click on the goggle symbol, and then that splits the thing into stereoscopic. That's when you put it into your phone. So anyway, they've made it. It's pretty easy now.
Yeah. So thank you. I would like to introduce special guest. Who's like a surprise guest. coming actually part of this collective.
Yeah.
So I think you can actually.
Sure.
I actually learned getting connected with you at the UW promotion, and that was and then she's running WSR fund for the VR, and it's just kind of surprise.
Yeah,
and
surprise.
awesome
Wow.
that she's here.
Wait, but I wanted to meet you.
Yeah, so I was just.
I'll tell you your name first and like.
Yeah, hi everyone, Martina Welkoff. So I'm a member here, and I was just here to work, and I was like, XR, what's going on? And then, so I just came by to say hi. I'm part of WSR Fund, where we're funding women-led augmented and virtual reality companies, and most of my team's in LA, actually. Good to see you. And you know some of the wonderful folks up here as well. I'm based here in Seattle, and I split my time between here and LA. Yeah, I'm just excited to see the program is launched. I first got in a few months ago. So congrats, fellows, and great to see the rest of you. I don't know if you.
Yeah, who are just again? Who are the fellows? So they are Kari. Awesome.
Congrats. It's a great program. And I don't want to interrupt. I know you guys had a conversation going on. So.
Well, I know that you have to work, but
Yeah,
just
I'm going to be working with some
yeah.
websites.
Thank you so much for stopping by and say hi.
Yeah, great to meet all of you. That's your happy collective too. Great to see you. So did anyone else have an answer?
Yeah, let's.
So I have an answer. So, question for you. Do you have a computer?
Yes.
Which computer do you have? Is it a Mac or
It's a
PC?
Dell.
Okay. So I would say my answer to you is come to our lab and work with people on our team, like you mentioned, Jesse, so he can facilitate it for you. Because our lab has basically all kinds of equipment. Now, what David just provided for you is the Google Cardboard or something similar to that. And you can start with that. So you can start with getting knowledge somewhere, which we can provide, by the way. We even have tutoring at our lab. And, ideally you come up with an idea already. So you're going towards a particular project. And then you can do work even from your home. You have your computer where you can run Unity, and you have a Google Cardboard. It's not going to be ideal for you, but it's a great way to get started, right? You can build something for Google Cardboard. At some point, you're going to say, I want to add something with interactivity where I can pick up objects. You won't be able to do that with Google Cardboard, but there will be something more advanced. At that point, it will be pretty integrated with what you need. I will get in touch with you because I'm actually interested in finding out if you want to be in our course because we still have some seats open.
Okay.
And, we're happy to work with folks so that we can make it possible for them. It's not, for us, it's not about money. Of course, we haven't found a way yet to make this work without being a for-profit company. But we will absolutely work with you.
I want to add just a little bit of bring back to the Future Founders Fellowship Program. We actually have a future podcast that's coming up. It will be like around 12, including this one, that we're going to produce so that you can actually access this resource for free from our website or from the Startup Seattle site also. So that's another thing. And also, if you know, there's also something called YouTube University. So basically, you go to YouTube, figure things out yourself. So that is another thing that possibility for everyone, basically. So, yeah. Any other question that you guys have? Any thought that? Yeah.
That's from you. Okay. I was looking, so I was doing the research, you know what I'm saying? And I was looking up because I don't know, I always look for the marketing. So I was so we're learning this product like Unity and things like that. I was looking up Unity developers in Seattle and VR programmers or junior programmers. So I was wondering, and I was always asked this because I just go through a lot of things where a lot of things is like, oh great, let's do this, let's take some pictures. and then 3 months later, it's like, okay, we'll never see you again. I'll probably never see you again in life. You know what I'm saying? So I was wondering how, like, is this, I know the core is teaching us our foundations, because I just got the type of personality where I'm going to just try to go find a job regardless of, you know what I'm saying? Even if I was on my own. So I'm trying to figure out how, if there's like a process of like guiding us into, after we're done with the thing, into maybe, hopefully maybe a junior Unity developer job, or is there any type of way we can stay, you know what I'm saying, connected?
Sure. So I want to take the time to answer that question, and I have something to offer the lady as well. We actually have a program that trains people on how to interview with companies, and we have had some success with that. We haven't had a lot of people go through the program. In fact, there are not even a lot of jobs right now, but we had somebody that we did this program with, and he got a job on the HoloLens team. So you will learn how to answer questions and how to present yourself and things like that. That said, what will count for you the most in this industry is having a portfolio. So it all starts, it's also because it's a very fast-moving industry, right? There are just a lot of people, and it's like, what do you have to show? So you start with, let me show you what I've built, what I've done. And then you can go into more of a technical explanation of your skill set. And but you know, especially in the case of VR, what you're showing is really your work. When I worked on applications for Windows before, I was one of a team of thousands of people, and it was difficult for me to actually explain what I actually did. But in the case of VR, you're literally showing your work and what you're capable of and the quality of it. We'll work with you on that. Oh, and what I wanted to say to you in terms of your question that I heard, like, how do I give back, right? I wanted to say you have a very important role because you're representative of a community. So for us, that's very important. Like Martina was here and we know her, and she's representative of women in this space. And by your coming into the space, when you're part of creating a product or an app, you actually can speak for women, right? A lot of times you're going to be working with other people. And if you don't say, this is important to have in this experience, this type of user experience, thinking of your community, thinking of your gender, then no one else is going to do that job. So that's one of the things that you can really participating in terms of speaking up and saying, this is really important that we have this in the app, or that it go in a different direction, because if we don't have this interference that we're doing here, we're likely just going to have a lot of first-person shooter games in VR, and that'll be it,
Okay. Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was really inspiring. Thank you so much for all the questions. And so I actually, this is 15 minutes after we're supposed to be closing, but then I really want to share one thing for Beverly. And also for the interns. If you guys interested in learning more about VR, Seattle VR Hackathon is coming up. It's gonna be in the weekend. So it's really good place where even people don't know how to code, how to program, they can be there, and then they just be a project manager or some sort, and learning from other people basically. So that's a good way to learn and to connect with others.
When and where is that?
It's Seattle VR Hackathon is going to be it's going to be next weekend.
Yeah, Magnuson Park.
Magnuson Park is where the going to be.
Wait, which weekend?
This weekend?
Okay, this weekend.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's next weekend.
No, this weekend. Sorry.
This weekend, okay.
This weekend. So starting Friday, usually people come in and then pitch their ideas. And then it's also even great to be there and listen to their ideas. There are so many people with different background. They have like some of them try to fight malaria. Some of them try to solve how to train people how to fix the fixture or something like that. And that could be done in VR as well. But with that, thank you for coming. And thank you for the panelists for sharing your thought, your ideas, and Future Founder VR Fellowship is starting tomorrow at the Chronos Global Academy with Peter. It's going to be 1 to 5 from Tuesday to Thursday. And then I will be managing the project in overall, basically from the start to finish. It's going to be urban planning tool in VR so that we could put together what we already talked about, like how to put like a different languages, different element of the community in the VR, basically. And then also we will have Diana putting together podcasts throughout this time with so that I have to change my thought. Fellows that being able to connect with future collaborators, I should say, so that like right now that you get to learn from them to get to actually meet Martina. Yeah. So Martina is actually a really good resource for especially for women because she's a leader in the venture capital for women-led startups. There's not a lot actually. It's like maybe a handful in the country, and she's one of them.
And we're one of them.
Yeah. So she's actually if you have a good idea, a good startup, and then you're a women-led, and she's a really good source for that. Yeah. So basically, with that. And again, thank you for coming. Please check out SIXR.tv and then and we will be posting our progress there. And appreciate for you guys for coming. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe and give us a rating or comment if you enjoyed this content. This episode was brought to you by the City of Seattle's Office of Economic Development and SIXR. Mixed and mastered by Joshua Duchesne. Please check the show notes for more information. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, we hope we've inspired you to keep exploring your own journey.